Statistics on recidivism show a persistent pattern. Criminal offenders are arrested and incarcerated over and over again. Physical confinement on its own often fails to deter a deeply ingrained nature. This constant processing of repeat offenders highlights how difficult it is to alter human behavior through temporary removal from society. For much of its history, humanity has responded to punishment like a child. A spanking has its limits. Once the redness disappears, the lesson's memory often goes with it. A more effective deterrent is for a parent to take away something the child values. The absence of that object acts as a constant daily reminder of the cost of naughtiness. Permanently removing a high-value asset creates a lasting psychological weight a temporary physical sting cannot match. This logic establishes a strict formula for behavior. Sin equals loss. In the most extreme cases, that equation scales upward until sin equals death. For this system to function, the offender must mourn what was taken. The loss has to be significant enough to serve as a persistent warning against future transgressions. By linking survival resources to moral behavior, the system forces a recognition of the tangible price attached to every action. Before the industrial age, food abundance was non-existent. Agricultural labor was the absolute foundation of survival, and every harvest was a hard-won resource. Sacrificing the best crops or livestock meant a devastating economic blow. It ensured the community remained acutely aware of the price of their transgressions. While agricultural societies could grasp the value of food, more savage cultures required a more extreme form of loss to understand the lesson. For these groups, lesser gods demanded the sacrifice of children, using the loss of offspring to drive home a point that grain and livestock could not. The effectiveness of the sacrificial system depended entirely on these resources remaining scarce and vital for the community's continued existence. The dawn of agricultural industrialization increased the food supply. As crops became plentiful, the sting of sacrificing them faded. With rising yields and efficient breeding, individual offerings carried less weight. Humanity lost the constant reminder of why they should avoid sin. Even child sacrifice lost its impact in societies where unrestrained breeding made life appear less precious. The deterrent was losing its power across all levels of civilization. As the perceived cost of sin plummeted, humanity quickly returned to its previous patterns of behavior. Industrial progress made the physical price of atonement too cheap to effectively regulate human nature. With the cost of individual sacrifices rendered negligible by abundance, transgressions multiplied without a functional deterrent. The resulting debt of sin stacked toward heaven, reaching a scale that goats and grain could no longer cover. To balance a ledger this heavy, the system required a single sacrifice of the highest possible value, the greatest lamb to atone for the cumulative weight of human history. The Lord intervened by becoming that sacrifice, providing a final payment for the massive accumulation of human sin. This intervention transitioned the burden of sacrifice from a physical loss in a field to a psychological weight carried in the mind. Those who accepted this sacrifice carried a constant internal reminder of its high price. They were no longer deterred by the loss of a crop, but by the desire to ensure this final sacrifice was not made in vain. By being washed in the blood, the lesson of the sacrifice was permanently moved from the town square to the hearts of the adherents. This internalization replaced the Old Covenant, which relied on physical reminders like circumcision to signal the constant cost of breaking the law. This circumcision of the heart represents the final stage of the divine system, moving the enforcement of morality from an external ritual to an internal choice.